love the clips where I'm told what I think. I think it's even more interesting when we're told what we're planning. Ooh. I mean, it's one thing to tell me, like, oh, you know, liberals, when they see you, this is what they think of you. And they, you know, they put thoughts in my head or words in my mouth. But when they plan an entire conspiracy, that's amazing. And the newest, and I don't know how you blame Biden for the documents stuff at the same time you are pushing this particular conspiracy. And I could go to the probably, I haven't been able to find one, but if I could go to probably a highly articulate right-winger who wants to do this, wants to, you know, believes this and wants to articulate it to the world. But I can't find one. I can only find gigantic dum-dums who are pitching it out there like, you know, what if? And this gets right to it. And by the way, you're right. That is Greg Gutfeld's graphic for his show. And it uses the Garfield lettering for him because he's a toddler. And then it says, don't feed him after midnight, which makes him a mogwai, not a gremlin. But whatever. And the title of this one is Gutfeld, is this a plot by Democrats to get Biden out? So the idea is that Democrats planted these documents at Biden's house in his garage so they could keep him from running in 2024, which again goes, I mean, you have to believe any of that. You have to believe that they're throwing the entire case out, you know, about he's mishandling them, that he doesn't care, that this is worse than what Trump did. What it is literally, and the idea that he is apparently held hostage by the left, and they, you know, and that everything he's doing is because they told him to, which if that was the case, why would they want to get him out unless they think he can't run or he's not going to win, even though he just delivered one of the best midterms in modern presidential history, and his approval ratings keep going up. And by the way, because of the wonderful things he does, but also because he had that bridge gaggle with Mitch McConnell. But that literally boosted his ratings with like elder Republicans all over the place. It was very infuriating for the Trumpages of the world. Now, let's see that this is literally what they think. They genuinely think this is part of the story. And thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. Okay, here we go.
Happy Friday, everybody. I said Monday.
Yeah, he doesn't even know what day it is. Sorry, I don't know why the closed caption's on.
Hey, oh, the drinking has started. First, let's welcome tonight's guest. He knows thoughtful prose like I know extra toes. Novelist and literary critic Walter Kerr.
I don't know what that means either. I think it's supposed to be... Maybe it's because he's been hanging out with Marjorie Taylor Greene and somebody put it in the prompter.
She's so southern, she sleeps in a deep fryer. Co-host of The Bottom Line, launching January 23rd on Fox.
Yeah, she looks southern. Gothic. No, she looks like somebody who'd show up on the porch of a crematorium in the early 1906. Bring 'em in, Pa. The ovens are ready.
She's the girl of your dreams.
No. And by the way, is that a bruise or did they cover a tattoo with makeup? I think they, okay.
You have a 104 fever. Fox News contributor, Cat Tip.
Also, I don't know what's going on with this. Looks like one of those TikTok videos God forbid, where they're like, you can take a regular shirt and turn it into a fancy dress with just a pair of crimp scissors and some folding.
Finally, the Great Barrier Reef is his loofah. My massive sidekick in the NWA.
He doesn't know what that means. He doesn't understand that the Great Barrier Reef is very coarse, like a pumice stone, and he's so big he would have to use something like that to do it, and he's carrying a wrestling belt with him. This is sad.
Heavyweight champion.
He also has his restaurant code on the top of his head, and it was only after he got a D and cleaned up his act. Why is he doing the shocker on Fox?
All right, so before we get to some news stories, get all over the document scandal, it's time for this.
Greg's leftover.
Oh, God. This is, what are this, jokes he gets mad that they don't use?
Oh, I love this. It's leftovers, where I read the jokes we didn't use
Oh, my God, I'm right. That's so fucking pitiful.
this week. And as always, it's my first time reading them. So if they aren't funny, don't blame me. I checked out months ago. Here we go.
Also, that is nothing to be proud about. I think the staff, at this point, I genuinely believe whoever writes the opening monologue is depressed about their life and very angry they work for Greg Gutfeld. So they write in all these subtle digs on him that he thinks he's being self-deprecating. And basically, there's just somebody in the office going, fuck you, dude.
Sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell is reportedly teaching etiquette classes to her fellow inmates.
That's an NBC-sourced story.
That's not even the punchline. Lessons include table manners, formal greetings, and folding a bed sheet with your neck.
Wait, that's the end of it? That it's Ghislaine Maxwell, and you ended with, like, folding a sheet, like, by yourself? Is that the... Fuck, man. I'm surprised they didn't get to him.
So among her top rules...
By the way, the audience laughed because of the idea of threes, but not because there was actually a joke there. Believe me, as a comedian, I know what that sounds like.
It's never polite to ask a teenager how old she is.
Your cat.
Microsoft's new AI tool only needs to hear 3 seconds of your voice to mimic you, making it the only thing on earth that can do it faster than your angry wife. That's the stock photo that we found to explain marriage.
Chicks, am I right? So, you know what the nice thing is? It's cutting edge. It's cutting edge stuff. This isn't at all hack material that even a hack at a comedy club would go, ugh, it's just so sad that I'm even thinking about saying that out loud.
Stock photos are great. Earlier this week, an Amtrak train got stuck.
Okay, I thought there was going to be something there. It's like going to an improv show where the entire show is whatever the audience yells. Give me a suggestion for a job. Gynecologist. I need a suggestion for an activity. Going to the gynecologist. These guys are hilarious.
South Carolina, and took over 36 hours to get to Florida. Usually to get stranded that long, you'd have to fly Southwest. Whoa. In his new book,
It's literally happened once.
Prince Harry revealed that he once got frostbite on his penis during a trip to the North Pole. But luckily his balls were safe in a jar in his wife's purse.
See, that one got applause because that was the, hitting on her for one, and any jokes about men giving their balls to their wife. That's big with that crowd. It's big with that crowd. I weep for their relationships. I don't understand them.
Yeah. aides to President Biden have discovered classified documents in his possession. Biden has since apologized, saying he saw the words top secret and thought it was the KFC recipe.
He doesn't eat a bunch of KFC. There's no direct linkage to that. So what?
A professor at Penn State University is claiming that straight people can learn to be bisexual simply by watching gay porn. But my roommate Scott and I already knew that. I should read these.
Yeah, see, they're kind of like goof dunking on him.
In Massachusetts this week, Ben Affleck was spotted serving people at a Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru. Said Affleck, "It's always nice to disappoint customers with something besides my acting."
Yeah, what does that mean? Is that literally while you're shitting on Ben Affleck, you're going to shit on Dunkin' Donuts on the East Coast to that crowd? Fuck, man.
6 journalists in South Sudan were arrested this week over the circulation of footage appearing to show President Salva Kiir wetting his pants. But they were later released.
Did you hear that? Someone in the back.
They told if they can keep quiet about an incontinent president, they'll have a job at CNN.
Not Mar-a-Lago? You don't have a bunch of, like, Trump weird puffy pants pictures sitting around anywhere? You don't have any B-roll from Fox interviews where they had to work around it, where somebody had to walk over and whisper in a camera guy's ear, and then they had to change angles because it was super obvious that Trump wears a diaper? I don't know if is that inside baseball with CNN?
Yeah, a smattering. It's a smattering.
Clapped her instead of laughing at a joke where an audience goes, "Isn't that clever?" Right.
Carolina veteran took down a knife-wielding man at a Walmart last Wednesday. No shoppers were stabbed, although several did die from obesity.
Look how mad, like he's pissed at his own writer. He literally doesn't read these. Meaning people who shop at Walmart are fat, which is also the Fox demographic.
That seemed kind of low, and out of left field, and funny. A father in Ecuador has legally changed his gender to improve his chances in a custody case. If he wins, he promises to sue himself for child support. And finally, for the first time in his presidency, Joe Biden visited the border in El Paso this week. When asked what the most memorable part of the trip was, he said, "Well, obviously, it was when I said, 'Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.'"
It's the only other wall reference they could come up with. Yeah, that is the extent of the cultural references. And by the way, let's give it up for the writers on that program and the guests who sat through that shit while they rehashed jokes that were, thank you. Look at this. My girl brought me a beverage.
I had to go through security to get it.
Huh? You had to go through security to get it. And they let you? That's the amazing part. Thank you. Look at that. That's a lot. I'm going to be very caffeinated by the end of this. Good Lord. All right, here we go.
Let's do some news. He left files by the Corvette, and like his pants, the excuses are all wet. A special
Again, I don't know what I guess the old people pee themselves idea, and yet Trump, whatever.
counsel, aren't they all, has been appointed to investigate how top secret classified documents ended up in President Biden's Delaware garage, and an office he used in Washington, D.C., and a third batch at his residence in Wilmington. It's true, you can now find classified documents wherever Balance of Nature is sold. Trying to get a sponsor deal. It's shocking. Usually when Joe leaves something behind, it's cleaned up with a carpet steamer.
Again, I don't know what that is. I guess the only thing they can... This is painful.
A lot of poop jokes. But it could...
Really?
Honest mistake. After all, Joe left behind a lot more in Afghanistan, like weapons and people. But according to one Democrat congressman from Georgia, something much more nefarious is afoot.
I'm suspicious of the timing of it. I'm also aware of the fact that things can be planted on people. Things can be planted in places and then discovered conveniently.
It's an interesting theory. Almost as interesting as Guam tipping over into the ocean.
My fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
It's a classic, and I love that man. So he's actually suggesting someone planted the documents to frame the president. See?
Yeah, we've seen that one lump around. This is literally a single congressman said this. So obviously it's going to be part of the DNC platform in 2024.
Pretty hard to believe considering Biden's garage was locked. But let's be honest, if Biden is being framed, we know who had the opportunity and motive.
What do you want to know?
I want to give you...
I called it.
But...
So, did you hear the Tyrese or whatever, the wrestler, just went, called it? He actually thinks that that's the... All right.
Who the real winners are in all of this? Chinese spies, who can now get top secret files at garage sales. Before, they had to bang Eric Swalwell. Walter, great to see you. I can't wait to hear your opinions. I love this story. It's the best story. It's the best karmic story of the year.
No, it isn't. And by the way, it will pay off. We are halfway through this before we got to a guest. I literally, when I read this, I thought, and saw the panel introductions, I didn't know they were going to do this like retro joke thing at the top of it. But good Lord. Second, this is not going to play out the way they hope. It is not. And it's going to be great to watch too. You know the disappointment about the Durham probe? That was sort of a similar disappointment that like Democrats felt when the Mueller probe couldn't indict Trump, couldn't, result in charges, but more violent and visceral. The same thing is going to be true of this. The problem that they're going to run into is that the difference between documents found in one place or another thing was how the person handled it and what their response was. The minute they found this, they went on a sweep basically to make sure there was no other stuff. And when they found it, they immediately turned it over, just to make sure that whoever, either staffer or whoever they ended up bringing that stuff, or Biden himself ended up having those in those files, wherever they are, just let's make sure there aren't any, wrap them up and take them back to NARA. NARA didn't request them, didn't know they were missing, didn't say they were missing, didn't notify the vice president at any time that he had documents he shouldn't have. There were none that were listed as missing, none of that stuff. Trump's the exact opposite. They knew for over a year that, and were talking to him for over a year, that he had documents he could not have, and he fought giving them back, and then he finally agreed to give them back, and then he lied about how many he had, and then they subpoenaed him when they found out he was lying about that, and then he defied the subpoena, moved documents after the subpoena once there was a lock put on the door, which, by the way, it was a padlock, not a deadbolt, and even still proved to me it was ever latched. I don't buy it, but during the time that he agreed to put the lock on the door, people were moving boxes out of there into his private office. The same boxes that had the documents that were ultimately found were taken out so they could be sorted through. So basically, he could just lift those documents out of there. And that's what triggered the search and seizure warrant. Like a wholly different experience. And it's going to play out that way. And they're going to be, just enjoy the fact that they're going to be so angry that this didn't turn out the way they wanted.
This early year, don't you think?
Well, I think the meaning of this story is that the Democratic Party has decided it's time to lock Joe Biden in a garage.
Yes.
And it's probably a good idea. He's a lot like a vintage Corvette, Joe Biden. He's kind of nostalgic to look at, but if you take it out and drive it, it might break down and you can't get parts. He's also like a vintage Corvette in that he doesn't meet modern emissions standards.
There's, if you'll recall, we watched on my show, there's video of Trump farting on live television multiple times. I don't know what, like, but this is the status of the jokes, I think.
No catalytic converter,
Yeah.
a lot of noxious tailpipe emissions.
Yes, that's so true.
But
It is true. Wow.
oh, the other thing I keep thinking is, why are there documents in the garage? Isn't everything on a computer these days? I mean, the only documents left are like marriage licenses, the Declaration of Independence. So what's in there? Like the Magna Carta?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's what it is. These, you know what the real joke is. And thankfully, we had a novelist and literary critic, because apparently he was so good at writing novels, he followed that up with being a critic, as most failed novelists become critics, with the idea that instead of actually having to address what the documents are and the recognition that more than likely they're just like part of his like daily schedule and that kind of stuff that are classified normally, even top secret while you're vice president, but not after the fact. And that's why NARA didn't care where they were. But the idea that Biden's so old, he has the Magna Carta. So that, and he's old, and old people pee and fart. Do we have like a score clock at this point?
It's kind of, to use a bit of your metaphor, if this is a plot by the Democrats, which it might be to get him out, it's like they're trying to get the car keys from Gramps. That's what they're trying to do.
This is a moment of reality, by the way. It's the only moment of reality we've actually had. He genuinely thinks this. He thinks. Look at his face. That is when they're shooting the shit in the guest room or in the green room or in the makeup room. That's what they think.
Canola, what?
Or if it was a plot by the Democrats, it could be because they want Trump to look good, because they think that Trump would be easier to beat than somebody like Ron DeSantis. I'm just saying, if we're doing conspiracies, let's get more creative.
Yeah.
Did you catch that? Let me run that back for you. The what now? Okay, so the idea is that Democrats planted these documents in Biden's garage to make Trump look good, because they'd rather run against Trump than Ron DeSantis, because DeSantis could beat Biden. All right.
That's what they're trying to do.
Or-
Gramps, canola, what?
Or if it was a plot by the Democrats, it could be because they want Trump to look good, because they think that Trump would be easier to beat than somebody like Ron DeSantis. I'm just saying, if we're doing conspiracies, let's get more creative.
Yeah, that's a good one.
No. What the living hell? What in the? By the way, you're watching Housemarques Mega Worldwide. They posted this. This is an example of the brain trust that is the Gutfeld show or whatever, and this is the quality of thought. We've seen the quality of jokes, but this is, like I said, this is actually a conversation they're having, and they're not the only ones having it right now. I'll show you. I have another clip, and I'll show you in a minute.
That is a good one. Boy, that's a lot of work, though. And
Yeah,
the last time they did that,
I don't think that's what happened.
Yeah, yes.
Now that you say it like that.
Tried that before and he got elected.
Yes.
No, they did. But they did. They absolutely did that already. But they still feel so comfortable running against them. They don't have much else. They're still doing the well, look at how bad Trump is thing. All these years later, they still are doing that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Dagan, I love that. This is like a karmic implosion of the Avenatti scale, right? Remember, Avenatti was on the
No, because Avenatti went to jail.
Why Biden reminds me of that is they both were self-righteous blowhards about a specific thing, right? And that specific thing has hoisted them on their own.
Good Lord, his hands are small. I never noticed that before, but it's fascinating.
Petard. And I don't even know what a petard is.
Don't go there, whatever you do.
I'd like to be hoisted on one, if you know what I mean.
I bet you would.
Yeah. Hoist me on your petard. Hoist me, I say.
Oh, God.
I do have a lot of ropes and pulleys at home, but
With that outfit, I'm shocked.
I won't say that word because if I say it in Southern, it's going to get me into trouble.
Right.
I'm not going to talk about Avenatti, but I do understand women who carry grudges, as I have a lot of like little homemade dolls in my apartment of people I put hexes on, curses.
Yeah, you know, family value, conservative, Christian, you know. I wonder if she knows Congresswoman Luna.
You know, little old pantyhose stuffed with cotton balls. Never mind. I think this is a woman. I'm gonna travel down.
She doesn't mean cat. She thinks cat's a little girl. She means a woman is doing this, that this is a plot by Kamala Harris.
Tyrus's Road, because if you want to get back at a man, you go after his car. And you go in the garage.
Oh my God. So the Illuminati is going after the presidency of the United States via a woman's grudge against Joe Biden. Okay.
With a stiletto, and you go after the tires on the vet. And while you're in the garage, shivving the tires, you're going to plant some extra documents to, you know, to make sure.
The car was in working order. The documents were in a box, and they were damp. Nobody had accessed them. I mean, I don't have to tell you this is stupid, but
the think tank documents in D.C. are not a one-off. And just thinking out of the box, it's definitely Kamala Harris. You have to realize.
That's what I mean. They literally had this conversation. Like, this is supposed to be a joke. It's Gutfeld. This is supposed to be them playing with this idea that's around the right-wing vlogosphere. And believe me, there is something to the idea that Gutfeld's show serves to, like, bounce the balloon of stupid ideas and play with them enough where you can still take them seriously but never shoot them down. And that's kind of what they service in the right-wing media sphere. That's all they're there for, essentially, what that show is there for. But the problem is these idiots actually, like Kat was like, I don't think that's actually how it happened. She absolutely does. So does Greg. They listen to her spelling it out.
If you listen to her, I was the Attorney General of California. I was a U.S. Senator. And in the last 2 years, you've had me talking about space with some kitty actors and being a greeter for dead fish in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And now you've decided, you old jackass codger, that you're running again. You got to get rid of him.
You know
why? Why again? If Kamala Harris would have another 4 years to, like, cement her run into the presidency after that, how do you think Biden was there for 8 years at his age? What are you talking about? Like, Kamala Harris could literally either go from the vice presidency to the Supreme Court, or simply as a vice president, you know, enjoy a relatively cush speaking circuit life the rest of her life, or run for president again. And the 4 years won't make a difference, except for that she'll have more of a record to run on as you know, as I don't know. Like, she seriously thinks this is real, though. This woman believes that's how Kamala Harris's mind and heart work.
Also,
you really want to go after a man, what you do is you get with his dad, and then you make him call you his stepmom.
You heard that. You heard that. I heard that. We all heard that. This is,
That's interesting. You know, I thought, Tyrus, that she's getting...
Moving on.
Back.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
I was like, should I say it? And it was too late.
Yeah, because I had...
That would hurt, right?
When you said petard, I had thought something else, so I can't say it. But
Remember, he was the guy that hurt that little girl. Remember on the debate? I was that little girl you put on, put on a bus or not on a bus?
She put him on a bus.
Yes.
But
I was that little girl.
But she loves buses, so it's like confusing.
Electric buses.
Because it would make sense.
Yeah.
Like, he put...
Okay, buses and whatever they are used for is two separate things. Again, this is kind of important. I mean, the guy's an idiot, but they all are. But the point is that they don't understand a vehicle or an object being a thing, and that the intent matters. They're very confused by that idea. Secondly, he made her his vice president after that exchange, which is a reconciliation, understanding, and connection moment that every single person on this panel is emotionally, intellectually, philosophically, and psychosexually incapable of doing.
On the bus. So I'm going to put him on the bus.
Yeah.
Out of D.C.
Exactly.
You know, she couldn't say that because that sounded cool. But...
What? God damn. This is the... Considering the scope of this and considering the deal, the documents themselves and how the optics of it, this should be easy. Shouldn't it be easy? Shouldn't it, like he's complaining about Trump, but he had documents in it. How do we know there aren't thousands of us? Like, you can stick on that forever. How does he know he's being honest with? What if he knew a year ago? How do we want the emails from Dara, blah, blah, blah. There were none, but let's, you know what I mean? You could just, because there are so many gaps in knowledge that you could just spackle with conspiracy. The idea that this is where they're going, that this is, and again, it's not just that they talked about this on the show, that they broke for this for a few minutes. They cut this piece out of the show as an exemplary chunk of the show and named it this and put it up. It is, of all the other stuff that happened in the episode, this matters to them.
My favorite part of this whole thing is they still blamed all this on the Trump administration.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they made it weird when they're transitioning, and that's why we took all the documents with us, because there was no one to give it to. Like, that's literally what they're going with, which makes zero sense. Listen, it's...
Yeah, it does, actually. I haven't even heard that part of it yet, and that's the best example of why some of this stuff got mucked up that I've ever heard. Thanks, stupid. That's kind of impressive. By the way, hi, chat. I'm just making sure I'm still on and you guys can see me and I'm not just talking into my dead computer. Thank you so much, Carmela. Can I pay you to stop showing this? Yeah. He's a wrestler. He's always on there. You know, whatever. Shakespeare's Hamlet, a bomb maker hoisted off the ground by his own bomb. Yes. Petard is a small explosive device. Yes. The problem is Greg Gutfeld thinks that hoisting means something with a hook in it pulled up into it. So, but I think this is kind of spectacular. This is exactly like he's basically printed an out. This is an out I had not heard. Listen to this crap again. Listen to this whole chunk again. Like, late in the clip, here comes Tyrese to just fuck the whole argument into a cocked hat.
I was that little girl.
But she loves buses, so it's like confusing.
Electric buses.
Because it would make sense.
Yeah.
Like, he put me on the bus, so I'm gonna put him on the bus.
Yeah.
Out of D.C.
Exactly.
You know, she couldn't say that because that sounded cool.
Again, unless you're Amish or it's a religious thing, grow a mustache with your beard. It's just odd.
My favorite part of this whole thing is they still blamed all this on the Trump administration.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they made it weird when they're transitioning, and that's why we took all the documents with us, because there was no one to give it to. Like, that's literally what they're going with, which makes zero sense.
Yeah, it actually makes that might be beyond just the general the fact that it was very minor stuff and things were inside other things. So when they were packing up their stuff, there was so, you know, it was just regular things and that might have had a single page in it that they didn't flip through every page because of the oddness of the transition. Makes total sense to me. Just, I honestly, I think that's so far, he wrecked everything. I mean, it's all stupid, but
it's Kamala's people probably jumped on this, but this is what happens when you let your kids put your stuff away. They just put it anywhere.
That is true.
Hunter had one job to do. One thing. Take all the documents that connect me to you and get rid of them.
Yes. And you know what he did?
And he hit him.
Yeah, but first of all, well, I mean, this is just a joke. I mean, there's no basis in this. They want to rotate this through, and this is a gag. But the concept somehow that Hunter was involved, which he wasn't, but the idea that Biden was trying to get rid of those things in particular, and thousands of pages of stuff that come with being the vice president and all the time you're there and yada yada yada, that you don't have a single page shredder. It's like 9 documents. We're not talking about the end of Enron.
At the places where he would never go, a library, dad's garage, and home.
Yes.
Classic son up.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has kids. I'm guessing that's a running story around the house.
One job.
Yeah. Kat, last word to you. Has this been a great week for I guess, I don't know, justice?
No, because nothing's going to happen. I mean, it's just with people in power know that they're afforded special treatment, and then they behave in a way that reflects that. So, typical week.
The typical week.
I do like the recurring that Kat does. I've never heard it before that many times in a row, and it's endearing. It's not at all the kind of thing that somebody says 3 stools down from you in a bar into their gin fizz. Yeah, try walk across that parking lot. See if you don't get hit in the head.
Right. Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Oh, that's the it.